Worried over the raging political turbulence, River State Elders Council has warned some individuals stoking the embers of crisis between the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, and the former Governor Peter Odili to desist from the act. The council, in a statement signed by 4 to 5 prominent elders, including Chief Ferdinand Alabraba, Emmanuel Ayawu, and Senator Magnus Abbey, described the recent comments made by a group of concerned elders as puerile and lacking in courage. The council also questioned the motives of the concerned elders, alleging that they were individuals who had worked closely with Wike, but now parading themselves as supporters of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The Elders Council noted that despite Dr. Odili's active role in the current River State crisis, Wike had never made any adverse remarks against him due to the deep respect he had for Odili. It, however, condemned Dr. Odili's disparaging statement about Wike made at a Christmas carol service to the effect that Wike wanted to capture River State as his private estate as unacceptable. The statement reads, "We consider it unfortunate that the comments came from elders who lacked the courage to let the public know what prompted the remarks by Nyesom Wike. Did Dr. Odili deserve respect in return for being deliberately disrespectful to the Minister of the FCT? The answer is no. Dr. Odili, an elder and former governor of River State, should not have thrown decorum to the wind in making statements in his quest to please the governor, who was his special guest of honor at the event, no matter what the incentive may have been." The council advised the concerned elders to summon the courage to advise Dr. Odili to be more circumspect in his utterances in the future. We advised Dr. Peter Odili and his cohorts to kindly leave Chief Nyesom Wike alone while they continue with their exploitative manipulations of the governor of River State. They're no benefactor, the statement said. Well, Chizzy, I'd like to get your comments on this statement. I mean, this is as regards to Odili's comment at Christmas Carol, where he said that, you know, the FCT minister is trying to Ghanaian River State for himself as his own private estate. I'd like to get your take.
You know, it's quite unfortunate that I've been dodging this speech, this particular scenario and issues. I just didn't want to say anything about it.
All right.
Because I like to ask, have we lost sense of history? We were here when Governor Wike was the governor of River State for 8 years. And we knew of all of the fantastic things that Dr. Peter Odili said about him, including when he was handing over and all of that. We also understood the dynamics in choosing Sim Fubara and why Odili was given the sole mandate of nominating his running mate.
And there were no criticism.
And there was no criticism.
Yes.
And then I also know that if there was anything I've heard about Dr. Peter Odili was to always comment Wike for, in fact, he said Wike has performed more than any governor, including him. He told us that. And he also said that it was Wike who had to build him a house now that he's staying in River State, that the former regime, that he couldn't stay in River State for insecurity. But that because of Wike now that he has come to. So when did he change? When did he just change to begin to talk about Wike trying to take it as a personal property? You see, my problem with being elders, I was in a forum one time where one elders, for lack of, I just don't want to mention the person's name.
All right,
let me respect the person. You know, when he said that the problem he has with River State youths is that, as at then I was still a youth, I'm no longer a youth.
Right.
And he said then that the River State youths are not adventurous in nature. And I asked him a question. I said, the lack of fathers has allowed us, because you see, all of the youths, whether you're carrying gun or you're doing anything, I'm a product of a family. We're all products of family. That means that if we have lost 80% of the youth, as that guy insinuated then it therefore means that we have lost 100% of the fathers, because they couldn't be fathers enough. Let me give you an instance why I say so. In this scenario of the disagreement between
Odili and Wike.
No, disagreement between even Wike and his benefactor, which is Sim Fubara. I think that what should have been done by Odili, especially in this scenario, knowing that these two persons are respecting this much, was to call. What we would have heard was that, okay, assuming that the president has even called them for a truce, I would have thought that Odili would stand up, because the president, President Tinubu, was his mate, you know. In fact, Odili was deputy governor when he was senator. Odili was a member of the Constituent Assembly, in fact, chairman of Rivers State when the creation of states. And so he had some pedigree. I would have thought that, Mr. President, I thank you for trying to intervene in Rivers State crisis, but please give me the same thing we do in court. You can come to court to say, please allow me wade into this thing. I would have thought that as an elder and as a leader, that he would have called these two persons and asked the president to give him that opportunity for them to come back here. And then, so what would have heard, what would have been here is that, look, Odili and, Sim and Wike was in Odili's house, where the Odili did this and, you know, blamed those he has to blame and all of that. But he didn't do that. Some other person took it and then he came back, read the thing, and then came back here to begin to do otherwise. I think that is not good as a leader statement. Okay,
so let's just streamline it a bit to, you know, Wike and Odili. You rightly said that they have been friends, they've been party. Actually, let me just use that word. They've been friends, you know, during his tenure, before now that they're starting to have these issues and the rifts between both of them. I would like to ask, what do you think are the underlying causes of this political friction between Wike and Odili? What do you think?
It's simple. There are persons who we call AGIP. AGIP is an acronym for any government in power.
Any government in power.
Any government in power. That's the acronym for AGIP.
All right.
You know, there are people who feel that the only way what they can do is right now. Maybe I do not want. I'm just suspecting that anyway. I do not want. I want to be the leader. And so now that look at what Tinubu has done. Now Tinubu has grown to be president. Let me also be the leader. You know, now that there is problem between these two factors, let me support this person who is incumbent. And because of maybe personal gains, but I think that the person of Peter Odili should have grown far more than that.
All right, so let's also take a look at this. You know, Odili as an elder statesman, this is the role he played in this feud between the both of them, being an elder statesman. In what way do you think has it influenced his decisions to critique Wike, considering the fact that they've been friends, you know, before now?
That is what I'm saying, that he failed in doing that as at this time. You see,
so what are the significance of this role, of this thing he just made mention?
The significance about
Wike. What do you think?
The significance is simple. That he has not called for peace. He wants the war to continue. All right. Instead of calling for peace.
Okay.
So all I can advise him is to stand up and go for peace instead of disparaging one person or the other. There are things, see, there's something IBB said one time, and I learned a lot from it. IBB said he cannot criticize in the open the person he has had sex to. That means that if I have had sex to you and I know that I can call you and you come to my place, and of course, all I need is to call. It is only when you have said this and that and that and that, and this person is saying no to it, then you go out in public and say, look, I'm saying this, and this guy is saying no to it. But he hasn't done that. He has taken side. That means now that Odili is a follower of Sim instead of being the leader of Sim and Fubara and Wike.
That's been one-sided.
Yes, he's now one-sided.
So let's also talk about the impact of him being one-sided. What impact does this have in the political stability of Rivers State?
It will not. It's affecting the stability of Rivers State in the first instance, because having taken side, that means, you see, if you are, I once told my pastor, I said, Pastor, if you are, my pastor was speaking openly against a candidate that I was supporting, and I said, Pastor, I don't know whether God spoke to you about that, but I can tell you that if you enter into the field of football and takes a side, and then you are in the other side, I will not say because you're my pastor, I will not ruffle you. That means that I will have to also dribble you to score. I wouldn't let you score me. So what that means is that now we have zeroed all the Sim people. And so whoever is fighting on this or the other side is fighting, he is part of the game. So if Sim is won, he is won. If Sim wins, he also has won. That's just it.
All right, talking about similar life, now, what do you think are the implications of this conflict for him as a governor right here in Rivers State?
You see, naturally, it's like a father rising up in his family. Whether you like it, whether Sim is even 15 years old now or 100 years. He's the governor of River State. That means that he's the father of River State. And so in his house, he's allowing crisis. And then when you allow crisis in your house, that means that the burial, quote unquote, or the birthday of the father will not be rosy again, because the house is divided, and the kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So that's what it just means. It means that it is so, I think the ball is on Sim to take off to say, okay, these are my leaders. Let me even go to them. You know, somebody was saying something the other day in the side, you know, and he was telling me this Christmas, and I thought as politicians that this Christmas he would have used this season, you know, especially given the fact that the season coincided with Wike's birthday to make peace. Of course, even if it was just a wish, you know, happy birthday, my former governor, Nyesom Wike. And of course, he deserves that. For instance, you know, the Bible says this, and I'm not insinuating that to him. The Bible says, woe to a nation whose prince is a child. The reason the Bible says that there are things that you do that seems childish. You must remove governance. You must look at your office as big enough as father that you are supposed to call it. When the prodigal son in the Bible, when the prodigal son misbehaved, it was assuming that even Wike had misbehaved. It was the father who was already there waiting for him to come for his embrace. And so, as a father, you can't afford a divided house. You can't afford conflict in your state. You can't do that, because if you do that, that means that you do not want to rule.